From teen mom and college dropout to millionaire moneymaker, let's meet Keshelle Davis. So I want to welcome Keshelle to a personal space. This is a woman who she and I have connected off and on for so many years.
Yeah.
And then not until what, year before last, I think? Last year?
Don't ask me what dates.
2021, 2020-ish. We really connected on a more official level. And she's also helped me to make a lot of money. So I am happy to bring her on the show. Keshelle, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I am happy to have you here. I want to dive right in, jump right in.
Dive in. Go deep.
Yes, let's go right to the depths of the depths. So a part of your story that I want to start at, and it's a story that you shared recently on your own podcast where you spoke about being a teen mom.
Okay, yes.
And I want to start there because what you are today, a lot of people don't see in the future for women who or girls who become teen moms. So talk to me about your story, your journey, how you got here, and how you just turned that whole situation around.
I'm going to even add a little bit more. I'm a teen mom and a college dropout.
What? Okay, so you had two things.
My water broke in the College of the Bahamas, and I never went back.
Wow.
So now, yeah, I didn't want to be there in the first place. So my daughter was a good excuse. So yeah, but I graduated at 16, top of class, got pregnant at 17. So graduated with honors. You know, they say your life is ahead of you. Proud mother, proud father. And then, of course, I was working in the mall, one of the stores in the mall, and caught my eye on a young man, and we did it for a while. Very good guy, and then ended up getting pregnant. And so at 17, got pregnant, gave birth to my daughter. She's going to be 23 in 2 weeks. So it's been a while, and it's been a journey. I mean, you know, I shared on my podcast I grew up in a Christian home. Mother, father, ministers. And so getting pregnant, especially 23 years ago.
I can't imagine what their life was like at that time.
Listen, and it's so interesting. My parents, and I don't know if I mentioned it on that episode, but my parents never showed me the things that you would expect parents to show their children. Now, they were disappointed, but they never said anything.
And all of those
nothing.
Things.
I felt nothing. I felt love. Now, I knew that they were disappointed, but they never even expressed it. But I knew years later that they went through a lot of flack in the church. And for me, I was told by a family member point blank that I'd messed up my life. And of course, looking back, that perhaps was one of the best things that could have been said. Because if anyone knows me, I'm the type of person that if you tell me I cannot do something, that's going to put fire up in me. And that's exactly what it did.
And that's why I wanted to start there. Because you took a situation that someone literally said to you, you messed up your life, that's it for you pretty much. But you have gone on to do some amazing things. You coach thousands, can I say thousands? Of women and men, not just around the Bahamas, but around the world. You've helped people make what? Maybe millions of dollars? Millions of dollars doing things that people, like you said, a family member told you was not possible or could not be done because you had a child at an early age. So
yeah, and I think that was just a driver for me. And I always had motivation. I always, from in high school, I always knew that I wanted to do great things. I didn't know what at the time, but I think that experience just was that catalyst for me to just say, okay, oh, you think so? I'm going to show you. And then it just gave me that constant drive. Yeah.
So how did you get into the space where you're at now? You're a business consultant, you're a coach. Talk to me about that world and how did you carve this lane for yourself?
I always knew that I wanted, so my dad is a teacher, he's a retired teacher. Yes. So I knew growing up that I wanted to be in teaching. I knew, I remember you shared your story of the camera with your dad. I think for me, one of the things that I always remember as a child was my dad. He would buy all of the books for the school that he worked in, and I couldn't wait until he bought the books, because I would go in, I would try and find all of the books, and I would pick out the books that I wanted. So I knew that I was interested in learning and teaching, but I also knew back then that I didn't want to be a teacher because I wanted to be rich.
And what they say, teachers aren't rich.
To me, teachers never made a lot of money.
I agree. Still to this day, they need to make more.
No, and so I had that presence of mind, even at a younger age, like, I don't want to. I want to teach, but I don't want to be a teacher, a traditional school teacher like he was. And I always had that desire because my first official job was a bank job.
Okay.
Right, going into the banking institution. This is after I had my daughter. Now she was a couple months, and I always liked technology. I always say technology is my first love. And so my supervisor at the time, and we're still good friends. I have to call her name Samita Ferguson.
That's family, eh?
Yes, well, that was my first official supervisor. Official, yeah. I would say official, because unofficially was when I worked in the mall. But she was my supervisor at the bank. And she saw my passion for technology, and she saw my love for teaching. And so she roped me into this, was supposed to be a one-time project to teach the branch this new software that was coming out. So she said, Keisha, you like technology, why don't you teach us this new software? And I'm like, okay, good. I worked at Mackey Street, small branch. By the time as I was done, I had ended up going to all of the branches of RBC. And I'm like, to teach the software. And I'm like, first of all, about halfway through, I was like, I signed up for this. And I never forgot what she said. She said, when someone sees potential in you, don't turn it down. And so that was my unofficial teaching job or role back then. And then I got into a tech company. Again, my love for technology. I left the bank, took a pay cut to go into this small tech company teaching technology. And then the rest, they say, is history. I stayed there. I got all of my certifications from that company. Worked in other smaller roles or companies. But no matter what the role was, I still ended up in a teaching role. And then, of course, the entrepreneur bug hit me. And I don't know if I always knew I wanted to be my own boss. Because I know, again, growing up, I was always stubborn. And I always wanted to do what I wanted to do. So being my own boss wasn't a surprise. It was just a matter of what I wanted to do.
Kind of figuring out which way to take it. And so you took your love for tech, you took that teaching gene you had, you took that experience in the bank with the money, and now you have built what I think is such an admirable business and company that I am so happy to be a part of. I'm so happy to learn from. If y'all didn't know, this is my business coach. This is my money maker coach. This is the person who is literally taking things that are like just floating around, like, you see the cartoons in my head, and making them make sense. So that gift you have of taking the little random stuff in people's head, strategizing them, laying them out beautifully, and helping people make money. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I ended up in business coaching, I think naturally. Funny enough, so my official business experience, my entrepreneurial experience started when I left my good government job, I like to say, to go fully in my business, and that was a company called Creative Wealth. So I got certified to teach wealth creation and financial literacy. That worked well for a while, and then I started my company called the Training Authority, which was more corporate training and coaching. Corporate training and consulting. I never liked being called a coach.
I don't like that word either.
Yes, in fact, I hated that word. I've gotten past hate. But I never liked being called a coach. I never identified with being a coach. My primary business at that time was training, development. But in training, and I think you know this, when you teach, that leads to coaching. That leads to you coaching a student in a live session.
Coach me every day.
Exactly, right? So when but I always identified as a trainer, as a mentor, not necessarily a coach. Of course, now that's shifted. And it shifted, I think the pandemic kind of really shifted it, where the pandemic did a really good thing for me. I know when I talk about that, I always think there's so many people the pandemic affected negatively.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of that.
We had it good.
Yes, I really am appreciative of the pandemic because one, that gave me the break that I needed away from my corporate business. The training authority was always successful in that we had always had clients. There was always workshops to do, and that was good. But I knew I would say even a year before the pandemic, I started telling my husband like, I'm tired of this.
Yeah.
Right? I was tired of the way I was working. Not teaching. I always loved teaching, but I was tired of the way that I was working with clients.
You were looking for that pivot.
I was looking for it from before the pandemic. So when the pandemic came and my training business slowed down, I obviously pivoted online. You were there for Online Business Lab?
No, I think I missed that.
Right,
I
you came after.
right at the end of that,
okay.
Yeah.
So that I used my tech experience to launch Online Business Lab during the pandemic, which was really successful. And then after that, I was tired, burnt out, because while everybody was resting or whoever was resting, I literally was coaching online and teaching. And then there was a lull where I'm like, okay, I don't want to go back yet to my corporate. Let me see what else is there in the world to do. Mm-hmm. And so that's when the opportunity with Hello 7 came.
Yeah.
And
let's talk about that. So Hello 7 is this international training company that teaches people online how to make more money, technically, how to create an offer, position that offer, and make money from that offer. And you have hands in, I guess, millionaires making more money. And I think that's a lot to be said for, like I say, a woman, Bahamian woman from the small country. And now you have such an integral part in a $1 billion? Are they $1 billion company?
Yeah, soon.
A multi-million-dollar
company. Yeah. Yeah, and that came, it's so interesting how that came. People always ask, how did I get that opportunity? So before I got to Hello 7, I ended up working for another company in Asia. And this hasn't even been, I don't think it's been mentioned. So I started coaching for another company in Asia. And that's when I really got into coaching.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, I like this coaching. And I got to meet, I remember that first year, I had on my whiteboard all of the countries that I coached people from. And that was exciting for me because I could sit home, talk to people literally in places around the world that we wouldn't think of. And then the Hello 7 opportunity came. And it came because, one, I had time to stop and look for global opportunities. And I also wasn't afraid to put myself out there. They weren't looking for an international person. But I'm like, okay, they're looking for a coach who has business experience. I have business experience. Why not put my my hat in the ring?
Yeah.
And because of my experience, because of what I brought, they worked it to get me in there.
Now, there's so many people too, though, who would watch this and be like, "Oh, what are they talking about? What you mean online? What you mean business? What you mean entrepreneur? What you mean digitized? Like, what are you talking about?" So how would somebody who is watching this understand what we're talking about in terms of creating an offer, positioning that offer, and making money from your expertise?
Yeah, knowledge. And when I look at going back to, again, my life of knowledge and teaching, it's really what I'm passionate about is really helping people to spread knowledge, the knowledge that they have in their heads, the knowledge, skills, expertise, spread that knowledge, put it into package it in a way where they can sell it online. And the reason we're selling it online, not just because of technology, but there are millions of people around the world, not just in your local area, that are looking for what you have. And they're not only looking for what you have, they're looking for what you have in the way that you present it. I think if I can talk to the Bahamian crowd now, we tend, and not even just Bahamians, because I think there's just people in general who feel that someone across the pond in London or Finland or Amsterdam or France or Australia wouldn't relate to someone like you when they are fascinated by someone like you.
Exactly. That's the secret sauce right there.
Yes, that's the secret sauce. And I think more of us need to appreciate that and not be afraid to put ourselves out there. So you're just packaging what you know into a format that you can export it to around the world and be paid for it.
Yeah. Well, I have already created 2 programs with Keshelle, made some money with Keshelle. We are working on other things
Exporting it.
continuously. So it definitely works. It definitely matters. Keshelle, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This has been fun. I love getting the side of you.
Yes,
Always
yes.
on a, like a
Yeah, always a
coach.
business mind.
Yes, always how we make this next money. I am Thea. How
Listen, I'm always
it's really
thinking.
good to hear where you come from, why you do what you do. So thanks so much for being on Personal Space.
Thank you too.
So before we go, Keshelle, how can people find you? Someone who has this bright idea, they know that somebody around the world, like you say, can benefit from this. How can they contact you to get this thing off?
I believe I'm all over social media. I believe so. My favorite platform is Instagram or LinkedIn. So, those 2 places you can contact me easily, or you can reach at me at KeshelleDavis.com.
All right. And if you're doubting it, like, let me be the seller, just call her, email her, find her. It's going to be worth your time.